Go.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gino Satriana, and I am the Executive Vice President of Rio Rancho School Employees Union and also your full-time union representative. Today, I am going to be telling you a little bit about Union 101 and how you need to know what really the union is about. So, if you've ever been in a union, you understand that there are a lot of um, things that can be done for your terms and conditions of employment, for your employee rights, for your benefits, for all those other type of things. Well, I will make a little bit easier in understanding on how that comes about. When it comes to understanding a union, collective bargaining, and labor laws, and all of the technical jargon, it can get really confusing. Not to mention all the misinformation about unions and what unions are back in the 70s, 80s to what they are now. And people have their own opinions about unions and things like that, and that sometimes can get encouraging and sometimes discouraging. But if you don't know the facts, it becomes a lot of people will question it. So this is what this training will do. It's you're going to get some very basic facts on what you need to know about what your union actually does, what a union does. So I'm going to go through this quick tutorial about what a union does. So what is a union? A union simply refers to an organization of two or more employees who band together as a single entity and address a lot of the conditions of employment, your benefits, hourly pay, hours, duty days, your working conditions with all the employers. Okay. So union is an institutions with leadership at not only the national level, but in the regional level and basically at the local levels, elected by the members. Those members are the collective bargaining members that are the members that get involved in their union. Unions are guided by a constitution and bylaws that are drafted and ratified by the members. The Constitution formalizes policy and is governed by the union itself that operates it once the members and the membership and it is voted through in the Constitution and bylaws, which that means that's what the union has to follow, if that makes sense. So what do? We promote and protect the interests of all employees, dues paying and non-dues paying alike. So basically, there are some unions that are specifically specified as, let's just say, for instance, in our area, a teachers union, or there's areas of unions that are PSRP unions. We here at Rio Rancho are a wall-to-wall, so we represent not only the teachers, EAs, custodians, social workers, things like that. That's what wall to wall is. So we represent everyone that is included in that collective bargaining unit agreement, and that's what the union is it bargains with the employer, which would be our district, benefits, pay, working conditions, disciplinary actions and processes. We also lobby for laws and regulations like the PEBA, the Public Employees Bargaining Act at the state level, and we also get to go at the national level. So we go out there when we work with all levels of government and to be able to offer a lot of ranges for the members to help the employees outside the workplace. And these slides that you'll be seeing, you can go down there. I'm just kind of ad-libbing through them, but it basically shows what, I'm not going to read word for word. So I'm just kind of giving the general idea, and you guys can look to see exactly what the unions do. It's easy to forget that the unions fought for many protections. Let's just talk about Labor Day and Memorial Day. Sometimes, the federal laws, back in time, people weren't being allowed to take those days off. Well, the unions actually passed those to get those federal holidays off and paid. That they also, unions protect the workplaces for minimum wage, 8-hour workdays, child labor laws, things like that, safety standards from, helping that the law is followed. Not only do we protect the contract, but we also, in the contracts, a lot of times, a lot of unions will put in that the law is also in the contract, that they can use the law to be able to protect the employees, so that's also in negotiation. And when that goes into the contract, you're also protected by the law, not only outside of your union contract. Some people can only use the law, whereas a union member can use their contract and the law. So it just gives more protection in that sense. Today's unions across the country have advocated for the increases. We did that with the teacher salary structure. We're doing that now, coming up with the paraprofessionals, the EAs, and trying to get a minimum of actual living wage. So we go into that area, and we do surveys and studies to be able to find out where things are at, and then we lobby and we voice hard. Without that union, you can't voice it. You can go sit down across from your employer and ask your employer, can I get a raise? And they can turn around and tell you no. With a union contract and being involved in the union, you can easily come to your union and have them negotiate what you really want to negotiate the next time around that it's bargaining. Why join a union? Unions have avenues for workers to have a collective bargaining agreement. That's the union contract that I'm talking about. When you have a union, you have a right to bargain that contract, and then the employer has to be able to stick to those contracts, or there'll be consequences in that sense. Without a bargaining agreement, employees have almost no rights if you don't have that bargaining agreement. Again, that's just going back what I was saying just a few seconds ago, was you can go sit down across the table if you don't have a union and ask for a raise, and they can tell you no. When you have a union, you can sit there and bargain it and basically come back, and you have rights to be able to ask for that, and you have a collective voice. It's not just you yourself, it's the entire union. So there's power in numbers in that sense. A union, employers can make up their rules and arbitrarily decide on disciplinary procedures without a contract. They can just make policies and procedures on their own, just whenever a situation comes up. With a union contract, they can't do that. It has to be bargained. It has to be discussed with the union. They can't just arbitrarily go out there and just start making all the policies that they want to make. A non-union employer can often fire an employee without any kind of cause, unless the employee proves that they were illegally discriminated or retaliated against. With a union contract, they've got to have just cause and due process, because you have that union contract, and they've got to go through the steps of whatever that union contract says. So they can't just say you're fired. They have to go through a process. When you don't have a union contract, might be using the wrong term, but that means somebody could easily be at will, and they could just say, oh, today, we're not going to need you, you're fired. So that's another reason to join a union and to have a union, because you get numbers and powers, you get a voice, you get the opportunity to get a good contract and a protective contract, to where there's process and procedures in the articles that's in that contract. You're not just an employee that doesn't have any sort of rights, and there has to be a due process. Even in disciplinary action, this doesn't only constitute for termination. This is for disciplinary action as well. Is there still need for a union? Most Americans, 61%, believe that unions are necessary to protect the working person. We're finding, this is an old slide. This is probably about 6-8 years ago. I would say that number's probably up, just based on the actual active unionism that's going on. that people need those protection and what's going on within the country, not only your own state, but within the country. So I believe that that 61% is probably a little higher now. Employees in a wide range of positions choosing to form unions. Right now, the AFT New Mexico and AFT National are in the process of trying to get a contract for our Sandoval Regional Medical Center over in the hospital, and they're unionizing to get better wages. That because their wages are lower than actually the UNMH hospital that is down in Albuquerque, and they're basically UNM. And so it's why are the two? Well, one's private and the other one's public. Well, they're in the process now of going through the courts because they are public. It is funded by taxpayer, and now they're unionizing. So engineering, manufacturing, and you guys can see that. In fact, the National Labor Relations Board has seen over 3,000 requests. And now, again, that is probably higher now too in the nursing homes and non-acute employers in that industry. So it is growing so that people have more protections. Do unions help or hurt business? Unions raise productivity on an average of 24% in manufacturing, 16% in hospitals, 38% in constructions. Those are the kind of things that promote and recruit employees to be able to say there's a good living wage. I want to go work for that. They also, the more workers you get, and we're feeling that now with COVID, that you go to any kind of business and the lines are long, whatever the case is, when you go there because of the lack of labor. And because of the lack of labor, it basically takes more time now to do that. We're finding that in the shipping industry right now because of the lack of truck drivers or trucks trying to haul things over. We're going to see that in the holiday seasons, that it's going to take longer for your stuff to get there. Well, in order to recruit it and you unionize, and we'd be able to pay people a living and affordable living wages, that helps the economy, and that helps manufacturing, that helps the construction, with things like that. So I threw some of the countries and the successful companies. We have, Southwest Airlines got a real big push on what they needed. AT&T, Costco, UPS, NFL, the Major League, all the sports, NHL, NBA, the referees, major leagues, umpires, NHL umpires. NHL referees. They're all unionized, and again, they get their conditions of employment taken in consideration. So there are some powerful unions out there. And I'll tell you what, we're in the top. We have AFT and NEA, who are our parent organizations, top unions in the nation. You have your Teamsters unions, top unions in the nation. So there's a lot of strong unions out there that will advocate and voice for the employees. What is a labor contract? I'll just go over this. I talked a little bit about labor contract. It's a collective bargaining agreement between the employer and the union. So as here we do at Rio Rancho, we have the negotiated agreement. It's also called a CBA. It's also called the negotiated agreement. It's also called a union contract. A union contract is something that is put together by the members, and we've had this since we've been a union since 1994, and that first contract, and it's updated every year. We like to update ours as we go through to where we can tweak languages, but it's set with the articles that basically, as I went over, that it communicates to the district that this is what we're agreeing to. The district agrees to it, and then it's signed off by the employer and the union president. So the employer, CEO, boss, president, superintendent in our case, and our union president, and that, which would be Billy. She signs that. Dr. Cleveland's superintendent, she signs it, and then the Board of Education. So that's an agreement that we're going to follow. Both sides are going to follow this, and we're going to adhere to that. The union contract supersedes policy, because if it's in the contract already, the contract has already been negotiated by the two sides, the employee and the employer. So if it's not in the contract, then they can refer back to board policy. Plus, anything that's in the contract that states anything within the law It basically is in the contract, so the law is also there. So it's protection. It's just double the protection is what a union contract is. And you can go through and read what it is about the how we do it. We have a negotiating team that consists of pretty much a lot of the different areas. We have teachers, we have IT, we have EA, we have ancillary. So we have a lot of the differential or different, I should say, there's a lot of different voices in there that know the areas that are able to bring up areas to make a stronger contract or maybe adjust some language. So that's your union contract. Bargain agreements. This is the PIBA that I was talking about, the rules regarding public employees bargaining. We just got it stronger this year. This last legislative session got passed. This gives us the right to get the right to organize. It establishes fair and expeditious procedures that further the purpose of the act of guaranteeing public employees the right to organize the bargaining collectively with their employers, that we can talk to you guys about what you want in the contract and things like that. We can go over that to promote a harmonious and corporate relationships between the employer and the employees. We have a great relationship. We've been working on this with the district because that makes it easier for us for both sides to collaborate to get what's best for the employees and ultimately for the goal. When you're in a union, if your goal is to be and you're in the labor movement and the contractors, your goal is to build a house, build buildings, whatever the case is. You want to make sure that your employees have what it needs and the safety that it needs to be able to do that. Here in Rio Rancho, we want to make sure that our staff members are safe and sound first, have a livable wage, have some good terms and conditions of employment to be able to ultimately serve the public education for the students of Rio Rancho Public Schools, in line with what the district, the employer, wants, is to make sure we serve the public education and the students of Rio Rancho Public Schools. So it's harmonious, and we do have that good relationship with the district to protect the issues, the interests. Public interest by assuring at all times operating and functional in the state and political subdivisions. Again, that kind of a lot of wording is. Go out there and lobby. We lobbied about 4 years ago with all the unions to get our teachers level structure from 36,000 up to 42,000 as a level one starting in there. So we're lobbying it at that level. We can go to the national level and our lobby over the national level for a capital outlay to give the state capital outlay. And it's just a little bit more of a push. Your union can be involved in that, not necessarily just to wait. If Rio Rancho Public Schools didn't have a union, Rio Rancho Public Schools lobbyists would be lobbying for the entire district. Well, Rio Rancho has a lobbyist, but they also lobby for what the district wants. I get to go down there, or Billy gets to go down there, and we get to lobby for what are the voices that need to be heard with the boots on the ground. And that's you all. And what your needs are. So we hear you guys out to tell your story to be able to go lobby that way. So that's kind of what that means at the political state. And again, the PIBA is also going to protect established procedures for filing of a hearing determination of prohibited practice complaints. I'll go over that on your employee rights. The PIBA also holds elections for certification and decertifications of the bargaining units. Again, I'll do that and apply rights. This is another thing, holds hearings for the bargaining units, approves the local labor board. This is when you're starting the union. So this is what we're going through with Sandoval Regional Medical Center. So this is what happens when you start. This is the law that actually protects somebody that's trying to organize the union. It also protects us like our union, because we have a right to go in and discuss and to go in to organize and to be able to talk to you all and send emails and do those kind of things. So it also protects us that do have contracts. This is a policy. This used to be called Policy 201. It's a different policy now. This is board policy. This was made by the board. This is also in there. The policy relates to collective bargaining. So even in policy for the school district has a policy that we have a right to bargain. So not only do we have the PIBA, but we also have a policy at our own district that we have a right to bargain, because Rio Rancho labor district labor management relations policy. So this was, like I said, this was policy 201. And you guys can read that on your own on that one. And I think it's policy. I don't want to know. I can't remember what it is now, but when they changed the numbers, I always knew it as policy 201. They changed the numbers. So it's somewhere in there that we have the right, the collective bargaining rights. Do we have a process? Anything a bargaining unit member requests. Now, we have the right of, and I'll go over your employee rights. Even though union has a duty of fair representation, it does not have the process as a grievance in every complaint. It receives from the bargaining unit members. So every complaint that we get, it doesn't mean it's grievable. So there's a difference between a gripe and a grievance. So this what the article allows us. When we protect the contract, be it non-dues paying member or dues paying member, because everybody's protected by the contract, and we have to serve the contract that we negotiate. As long as it's in the articles and it's a violation of articles, that's what this talk about. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when we on my next training video. Membership has its advantage. The duty of fair representation applies in situations that lie within the sole of the control of the locals, such as grievances and arbitrations under the collective bargaining agreement. That's what we just talked about. Again, I'll talk about in the training vehicle. However, the local can treat employees in the bargaining unit differently under certain circumstances without violating the duty of fair representation. So again, this is just the rights of the union contract. This is what the union contract is there. It's got the language of it all. It's got to be in the articles. If it's not in the articles and it's not violation, then we can weigh it out to make sure that the district is following it and or the employer's following it, vice versa. And I'll go over that. The local can provide an attorney for a member. Okay, that's a member because it's basically the local can assign our attorneys because a person is paying their membership, so we can sign a member of the attorney. On a prohibited practice complaint is your working conditions. You don't have to be a member to be able to do that. And again, I'll go over to file a prohibited practice complaint because now the district is in violations of the terms and conditions of employment. And we don't have a lot of those. We used to have some of those back in, the 2013, 14, 15. Now, because we have such a great relationship, we don't have to worry about that because when we go to the table or we go to a meeting, we're able to do to get that done at the very lowest level possible. And that's it for this. I put this up there in your employee, the Union 101. This is information if you're trying to find things. This negotiated agreement is on our www.rscu.net documents. That's our union contract. And I think it is actually on our front page where you could just click it. And then you have the NEMAC codes that has all of your, for you educators, there's a lot of different things through the PED that give you your leveling up, and you can, type that in. You have state statutes, school board policies, all those kind of things in there. So that certified staff up there is for the teachers, the counselors, everybody that's certified, and the DIAGs, SLPs, OTs, PTs. The classified staff down there is basically our PSRPs. And those PSRPs, I always forget the acronym. It's professional services related. It's basically what it is in a nutshell is it's our EAs, it's our custodians, it's our maintenance, it's our bus drivers, our bus attendants, our security. Those are what I call the paraprofessionals. Those ones are the classified staff, and there's all your laws on where you get the Fair Labor Standards Act, the negotiated agreement, board policy are in there, the PBA and so on and so forth, the federal overtime and so on and so forth. So those are areas that you can type in there and look for stuff on your own, and that's the law and other things that you can kind of look into. And so with that being said, that concludes the training. If you guys have any questions about this, you can feel free to contact myself. My name is Gino Satriana again. My phone number is 505-264-2130. You can also contact Billy. She is our president. and you all know Billy, and she is a teacher, so she has to work during the day, but you can email her at rrseu4933@gmail.com, and we will love to help you guys if you have any other of those questions, and hopefully this video helps you out in understanding what unions are all about.